Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, and it's on branding. It's what truly differentiates your brand. And I see right there, I forgot the word brand on the opening screen. Anyways, 5 ways to showcase your unique brand. And I'm really excited today to be presenting this to you all because there's a lot of material here to cover. In fact, I'm feeling as though I'm going to have to probably keep it pretty quick here today because I did put a lot of information into this presentation. And as far as getting started here, I just want to mention some housekeeping notes about this presentation today. So first of all, you'll notice on your dashboard, there for the GoToWebinar dashboard, you have a few options there. One, you have some handouts, and I want to mention the handouts in particular because I tried to put together some really helpful handouts in terms of today's discussion. So you'll see there's a brand audit questionnaire, a branding definitions sheet, a document that tells you what a brand standards kit involves. There's a digital marketing checklist, and then finally a copy of today's presentation that feel free to download all of those, and if you download the presentation, then you can just follow right along with our discussion. Also, as always, we have an evaluation upon completion of today's webinar. So if you would, just please complete that quickly and give us some feedback on how you like today's webinar and today's content. And also, I put in there a spot for you to give suggestions on an educational marketing topics that you would like us to present on going forward. We really do try to present on things that we believe that people have questions about or are interested in learning more about. So please give us some ideas there, and we'd be happy to accommodate. And lastly, we will be recording this presentation, and we'll have it available via email to you all after the presentation later today, as well as we archive this webinar and all our other webinars on our website as always. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and begin today's presentation. So this is me, and I'm Christy Guzik, and I am a business partner in professional service marketing along with Terry Wheeler. And Terry is not able to join me today for the first time in I think 4 years. She had a conflict. She just got back from vacation and inadvertently was not able to make her schedule accommodate today's webinar. So I am flying solo today, first time ever. Anyways, you can see I am the person that has a little bit more financial services experience. We have 2 niches, primarily legal and financial are our 2 primary target markets. And I am the person in the partnership that has come from the financial services background. And Terry has the legal background. So here's what we're going to talk about today. What it means to brand a service, just an overview of that. How you can audit your current brand to see if you need to make any changes or updates to your brand. We're going to talk about the 3 key components of a professional services brand, which is messaging, your brand image, and your brand experience. Then we're going to talk about some next steps you can take upon completion of today's webinar. And then lastly, we always do take questions. So in your dashboard, if you have questions at any time, please feel free to jot them in the questions area and submit them to me, and I can answer them upon completion of today's webinar. So first of all, let's talk about what it means to brand a service. So branding a product versus branding a service is quite different. So products are something that are created. Think of a widget or think of Coca-Cola versus services are delivered. And that means all of us pretty much on this call today are services providers. Products are owned by the individuals that purchase them, whereas services, if you purchase a service, is experienced. And what that means is products are tangible. You can feel, touch, taste them, whatever, whereas services are intangible and they're harder to really understand when you're buying them. Products rely on things and physical objects, things like that, whereas services rely on people. And the challenge with branding a service is that every single experience a client, a prospect, or a referral source has with your firm and your service is an opportunity for you to either confirm your brand or be inconsistent and cause confusion and distrust around your service, or a lack of clarity, which can be a problem, and why branding a service is so important. So the key components of branding a service are your message, which means defining and communicating your firm's unique differentiating value. So what is truly unique and different about your firm? Now this is very hard because honestly, if I had $1 for every time I had a client or a firm, anybody tell me, oh, we provide excellent client service, or we anticipate our clients' needs, or we really care about our clients. Everybody says that stuff. And so what you really have to do is you have to be willing to dig deeper into what truly is different about your firm. And there's usually a lot of components that go into that. As well as beyond just digging deeper, you need to often have some creative help to be able to articulate what is different about your firm and your service from your competitors, and put that in some creative, what we would call sticky language. Much easier said than done. So the other thing that you want to be able to do is, once you've created your message and what is different or unique about your firm, is to actually then convey that through your firm's brand image. And what that is the visual components of your brand. And when people think about brands, they generally think about this first. They generally think, oh, we need a new logo. Well, yeah, you might need a new logo, that's true, but if your message is not consistent and sticky and memorable, it doesn't really matter what your logo looks like, because each person at your firm, remember, has the opportunity to either be consistent and with every experience that they have with a client or prospect, they can either further your brand or they can take away from your brand based on their personal interaction, their personal experience with a client. So what they say and do really matters, more so usually than your firm's image. That's why these are in priority. And then third is that client experience. So that means ensuring you have consistent, positive interactions with clients, peers, referral sources, prospects, etc. But the client experience, which includes client service, it includes your clients or visitors' visual experience when they come to your website, all of that cannot be conveyed consistently, accurately, and creatively until you've done your work on your messaging and your image work. So there's kind of a lot that goes into this. Okay, so why is it important to have a strong professional service brand? Well, first, let's talk about how you can determine if you have a strong or weak brand. And as we go into this part of the presentation, where I'm going to go through some things you can audit about your current brand, I do want to mention that one way you can tell that if you have a strong brand or not is if you're getting pressure or pushback from clients or prospects regarding your prices, regarding your invoicing. If people are questioning all of that, then that means that they're not confident that you are giving them the value, the perceived value that they came to expect when they purchased your service. So having a strong brand really can make it possible for you to command a higher price for your fees, or a higher fee for your services. So how can you tell if your current brand needs to be updated? So the first thing you want to do is audit these different items. So you want to look at your current marketing and branded materials. So that would be maybe pull together all the things that people are currently using at your firm. That would be proposals, that would be marketing materials, that would be stationery, envelopes, business cards, trade show materials, PowerPoints, all that stuff. pull together examples of what everybody at the firm thinks is okay to use and see how consistent that is. So look at the messaging, the image, and the experience that each item shows the people that they're distributing them to, your clients, your peers, your COIs, your prospects. And then look at that and say, okay, do I need to make some changes or improvement here? And to help with all this, one of your handouts is a checklist of what you can be auditing at your firm regarding your brand. So make sure you look at that handout for more details around this. So you're going to want to look at your message, your image, and the experience. So let's dig into the message. What do you want to know about your message? So first, does everybody at your firm know what your firm's brand message is? And we'll go into a little bit more detail around what a brand message means. But, and again, there's another handout that if you want to access that, there is a handout called Branding Definitions that really goes into these different items because you may not remember at the conclusion of today's webinar, so I definitely put that down in a document for you. But does everybody know what the firm message is, and do they all know how to say the same message? They may not say it the same exact way, but do they know what your core key message is and what they should be communicating to others? And do your marketing materials, both what you hand out, what you present, and what you have online on your website and your social media and your LinkedIn profile, do they all reflect the same message? This is key. Hard to do. Well, I shouldn't say it's hard to do. It's easy to do once you set your mind to it, but you're probably going to find if you audit everybody at your firm, or even if you're a sole practitioner, if you look at all your various channels, it's probably not saying the same thing. Okay, so your brand image, which is your logo. First of all, how long ago was it created? We generally like to encourage people to refresh, even if they don't radically change their logo. We encourage people to refresh it every 3 to 5 years minimum. Here at PSM, we work on ours almost every year, and that doesn't mean the core integrity of our logo or our brand changes. What it means is we update our templates, we update our PowerPoints, we update our Word documents, all that, so we are definitely relevant. So to the next check mark, is it relevant and updated? Is it consistent with your firm's current name? That's a big deal. A lot of times people will consider name changes of the firm, a partner leaves or a new partner is added. Does your logo reflect that? Is it easy to read and understand? We have worked with some clients who have logos that it's very hard to tell what their logo means and what their logo is conveying. Here's another big one that can be challenging, is everybody at the firm using the same logo, the same colors, and the same fonts for your brand image. And to that end, do you at your firm have a brand standards kit, a document that tells everybody what to use with colors, fonts, sizes, different uses, things like that. So that's really important. And again, I know that may be confusing, and I'll be honest with you, there's different names. Every design firm, every company in the marketing industry and advertising industry uses different names for this stuff, so it can make that challenging. So what I did is I actually went ahead in your handouts and put a definitions of brand standards together, and it encompasses all the different things that you may have questions about in this area. So feel free to access that. Okay, this is the third thing, brand experience, and I would say this one is the hardest to control and often needs to come down on the priority list until you've got these other things really flushed out. That's why it's important when you put together a marketing plan that you don't expect to have immediate results, because all these things take time and have to be calendared out and put in priority list. And Terry did a great job of talking about that at our webinar from December 2016 about how to create a marketing plan. But one of the things that you're going to want to really make sure that you follow through and don't lose motivation for is this brand experience area. So questions. Do you have a strong support staff? Has somebody trained in the front desk people, the people that are answering the phone, on how to do it in a way that is welcoming, motivating, and encouraging? Do you have written client standards and processes in place for serving your A, B, and C clients? And I would even say a step further is, have you identified what an A, B, C client is? How quickly does everybody at your firm return calls and emails? Do you have expectations around that? Is your website easy to navigate? Can people find your phone number, emails? Can they find a map, directions on your website quickly? Do you offer easy parking? So, and lastly, what do clients, prospects, and referral sources see, feel, hear, touch, and smell when they come into your office? What that means is, I know some people have really gone to great lengths with this. I took my daughter to what is that called? Where she had to get a root canal. Forgot the name of that type of professional. But when we went into the office, she had to get a root canal because her little tooth in first grade got knocked out in school. And eventually she had to have a root canal. That doctor's office smelled so strongly of some kind of candle smell or incense that every time I went in there, I got a headache. And so I mentioned it to the doctor, and she said, you know what, well, that's just what I like, so we're not going to change that. And I thought, whoa, that's not the kind of customer experience or client experience that is promoting her brand or helping her brand, especially when she responded that way. Okay, so let's talk about messaging. How to create a consistent brand message. So here's the key component of a consistent brand message. And again, all this is outlined in your handout. So a brand message is a short paragraph that explains who you are, what you do, who you help, and the unique value your firm brings to the table. Okay, so that is what you need to start with first. Secondly, an elevator speech. So once you have your brand message created, then you're going to want to condense that really easily and concisely down into a 10-second elevator speech, literally, that you can say in the elevator. And lastly, it's not essential that you have a tagline, but sometimes one pops out and is very easily created once you've gone through this process. And I'm going to show you some examples at the end here on a firm that I've worked with that does all this, has done all this really well, and it'll be a good example for you to see. Okay, so here is our brand messaging. So this is our brand message. Professional Services Marketing is a strategic marketing agency for lawyers and financial advisors. We help our clients discern and effectively communicate the unique value they bring to clients using the foundation we call the 4 pillars of marketing. We not only work with clients one-on-one as personal marketing coaches, but we also serve as your firm's outsourced marketing department, managing all details related to the planning and implementation of your growth initiatives. So this is one example of an elevator speech I might use. We help financial service providers create strategic marketing plans aimed squarely at fostering long-term sustainable growth. Now, granted, I'm not going to say it every time like that, but it's just an example. And then lastly, our tagline is targeted strategies for business growth. So this is just an example of how we have this in our branding documents. So keys to success around your brand messaging is make sure you train everybody at the firm on this. So that means have a lunch and learn once it's established what your brand message is in your elevator speech that goes through all the different ways that they can use this and some recommendations on elevator speeches. Even your internal staff that never talks to anybody still goes to the neighborhood barbecue where somebody asks them where they work and what they do. So make sure that your tagline, your brand messaging is used consistently everywhere throughout your firm. That means anywhere in your logo. Sometimes you want to put your tagline in your logo. As an addition, we don't recommend that you use that every time in your logo, but on your website, all your social media channels, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so brand image. We use this example just to show you that it is essential to make sure that your brand is updated and relevant. So this is a great example, I think. Pepsi. Look how Pepsi has kept the core colors and the integrity of their brand throughout the years, but they keep updating it and refreshing it with the times. So this is a great example of how you need to just review your brand image and make sure that it's relevant and fresh. So in terms of steps of creating your new brand image, definitely you want to look at your existing brand to see maybe if it does need a change. Look what your competitors are doing. Some of your key competitors that you're coming up against the majority of the time, see what kind of things they're doing. What kind of emotions do you want to convey? And this is interesting because it is an intangible service that you're providing. It really does need to connect with people emotionally. And so what do you want people to feel when they experience your brand or they see your brand image? So creating a logo based on those strategic needs, and then if you're going to work with somebody to help you with this, make sure you have that logo kit, that style guide, and the overall branding guidelines. Then go ahead and implement and update all your branded materials, both printed, digitally, signage, everything. And then lastly, we like to have someone called the brand policeman, brand policewoman, brand champion, whatever you want to call them at your firm, to make sure that everything has to go through that person to ensure consistency and that they're following the guidelines established at your firm for your brand. Here's an example, and we're going to show you some more examples of JAK is a CPA firm in the Falcon Heights, Minnesota area. This was their brand to the left before we did a refresh. Now, they kept the integrity of their brand, but they definitely updated it, got it more relevant, more current. And then to the right is their logo style guide kit that shows in a very detailed way how to use the brand. And it shows also how to use it on the business cards, etc. Okay, now this is the document that I was telling you about that's in your handouts. This is what is generally included in a brand standards kit. And remember, all this stuff has different names. So this is just kind of what we call things when we are helping people rebrand or update refresh their brand. So again, it should contain a visual style guide, a brand message guide, and the actual identity kit. And this handout is in your documents. Okay, so brand experience. A client experiences things when they are checking out your firm, both when they've heard from a referral source, and maybe not even client, what I'm saying is a prospect. So let's say a prospect meets with their banker, and the banker says, oh, you should call so-and-so, they're a family law attorney, and they could really help you with this adoption that you're considering. So they mention some key components that they really like about this family law attorney. The person then goes to the website, and once they go to the website, they kind of get a feeling from the website as to if that person really lives up to what the banker said. Now, I will tell you from other research, we have found that as many as 52% of people that visit a website when they are kind of just kicking the tires actually decide not to call. And that has a lot to do with your branding, with your messaging, your imaging, how easy it is for that user to experience and navigate your website. And then if they do end up calling, what kind of response do they get from you? Do you email back promptly? Is the phone answered promptly and warmly? All that is client experience. And here we go, very similar to what I just said. How is the phone answered? How quickly are messages returned? How do you respond to inquiries and questions? Do you respond reluctantly or enthusiastically? Parking's a big deal. Again, what people smell, see, taste, touch, hear when they get there. And then their online experience is really all the things that you want to take into consideration when you are thinking about your client experience. So one thing that you can do is create ideal client experience standards. And a good place to start is by identifying what an A or an ideal client is for your firm, then going down and rating A's, B's, C's, D's, etc. And then creating expectations for how you will treat your different clients, as well as expectations for different roles that people have when they interact with clients. What we've done at some clients is in making sure that we have a lunch and learn where we identify these, we tell people where those standards are on the server, and then we train them in on how to implement those standards. Have someone secret shop your firm. So if you really care about this, you want to make sure that your experience is over the top. Have a friend or a COI or a client secret shop you. And then lastly, another good way to get feedback is by sending out surveys once a year and asking your clients to rate you and give you feedback on the experiences that they've had with your firm. Okay. Lastly here, I'm actually going to put these into action and give you some real-life experiences, or real-life examples, I should say. So first of all, we said messaging is extremely important, so I'm going to walk you through the 5 different ways that JAK, CPA firm in Falcon Heights that we work with, is using or showcasing their brand. So per the title of our presentation today, you will see that these are 5 different ways that they've showcased their brand. Number 1, they have taken their brand message, their elevator speech, and their key differentiators and their tagline, put it all in one document, made it available to their staff, and also conducted a training on that. So these things are easy to kind of get excited about at one point in time, but if you actually have this brand champion or brand police person at your office to ensure these are being consistently followed, it really helps. And again, that training really helps. Putting it in job descriptions, your employee handbook, things like that. So then again, part of what we did at JAK is we went ahead and refreshed their brand. We talked about that earlier in the presentation. This is their logo kit, or their logo style guide, that really shows in detail how to use their logo. And again, you'll see that it has all the recommendations for different colors and different color formats on how to use the logo at JAK. The third thing that they did, which was a huge undertaking, is they actually identified in detail the ideal characteristics around their clients. And then they put together a rating system, a weighted rating system, where they would go through each client and consider these different ideals about the client and rate them. And then they had a rating system or a range for the totals that would tell them if their clients were actually A, B, C, D, or Fs. And what they found is that they may just shoot from the hip and say, oh yeah, that's an A client. But once they actually broke it down and answered these questions, a lot of their quote-unquote A clients actually ended up being B clients. But what they also identified is there were some easy things that they could address with those B clients that could move them into the A range pretty quickly. And it also told them that they may be spending time on clients that are D clients, too much time, that they shouldn't be spending on them when they actually should be spending that time on their A clients. So we did this, we rated all the clients at their firm, and then we trained them in to client standards on how to treat those clients and how they should be expected to serve those clients. Next, we took their new brand, their new message, or their updated brand and updated message, and we incorporated it into their website. And in the handout, you'll see that their website does have a hyperlink on this page. So if you want to click on it, it'll take you to their website. This was the page that I happened to snap. This is actually not the picture that is shown on their website when you initially go there. It was the slider that happened to be going by when I took the picture. But they do have a construction niche, so this is one of the sliders and one of the taglines they use for their construction niche. So their website has definitely had a big update and a big refresh in the last year. We also have taken their niche, the construction niche, and created some marketing materials. We have general marketing materials for the firm to be used in a general basis. And then we've also taken their niche and created marketing materials. This is a marketing, what we call a marketing sheet. It's a one-pager that can be printed out as a single page, or it can be used as a PDF to email someone. So we've taken their messaging and we've taken their brand image and we have put that into a marketing material for them. So I just want to make sure we've covered all the 5 things. The message is one way. Your brand image is the second way. Your client experience and your client service standards is the third way. Your website is the fourth way. And marketing materials is the fifth way. Now there's many other ways you can showcase your brand, but I felt like these were some really great examples that we could show you today that really definitively show you how you can move forward with a refreshed brand. Now, what are some next steps that you can do to actually take action after today's presentation? So first, go ahead and go through that audit. And again, you've got that checklist in your handouts. And if you're listening to this recording, please feel free to email me at Christy@psm-marketing.com or anybody at PSM, Terry, Lauren, whomever, and we can get you a copy of that audit. So you can go through and see if your firm needs a brand refresh. And then once you do, what we have found that works really well, again, is that brand champion at your firm. And this doesn't, it can be, often it needs to be a partner that leads the initiative from a leadership side, but then you also want to have somebody at your firm that has a real interest in branding or marketing, even if they're not traditionally trained. There are often people that have done marketing that, or are just really detailed, responsible people that can be that internal brand champion. And then from there, again, we've tried to put together some really helpful handouts for you to use as you're going through and trying to create standards around your brand. One thing that I forgot to mention is the digital marketing checklist. That is one of your handouts, and what that does is that gives you options to actually audit your online or your digital presence. So there's the brand audit, but then you may need to go into detail in terms of how are we showing up online. And that's a really big deal because of the fact that so many of your referrals that you get are going to check you out online via Google. So how are you showing up on Google? What are people's experience with you before they ever even reach out to you via email, calling, whatever? So the digital marketing checklist for professionals is another great handout for you to use. And lastly, questions. So at this point, I'm not really sure I have any questions submitted, but I'm going to give you just a second here if anybody on the line has questions. While I'm waiting to see if anybody has a question, I also just want to remind you that we will be recording this, or we are recording it, and we'll have the recording available on our website and also via email. And our next webinar is coming up in April, and it's on thinking like a CEO for your practice. I do have a question here on the handouts. So someone asked about the handouts, and the handouts are available on your GoToWebinar dashboard. There's a section that says handouts, and so those handouts should be available. But if you cannot access them or you're not seeing them for some reason, feel free to just email me at Christy, K-R-I-S-T-Y, at PSM-marketing, and I will gladly email you all the handouts from today's presentation. So any other questions? Otherwise, I will go ahead and complete today's webinar and start with the follow-up. I have one more. Do we have a recorded webinar that addresses law firm marketing? Yes, we do have several recorded webinars. We actually have recorded, I think, 3 years or 4 years of webinars on various topics. They're available on our website. If you go to our website on the navigation bar, you'll see that there is a webinars tab, and there's upcoming webinars and archived webinars. We also have a YouTube channel that has quite a few recorded videos on several different topics from the past several years that cover lots of different topics. And generally, we make most of our topics specific to professional service providers. However, Terry has done just a lot of individual work with attorneys and marketing to attorneys. She's featured in the Attorney at Law magazine. She writes a monthly column in that Linda, so I'm not sure where you're located, but if you want to Google attorney at law, she does have content in there, as well as on the American Bar Association. She's writing content for the National American Bar Association publication as well. So lots of information out there from Terry specifically on law firm marketing. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and conclude today's webinar, and thank you so much everyone for attending, and we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar in April. Thank you very much and have a great day.